Hi there. It's a very noisy venue we've got here, so I'll do my best to kind of overcome the background noise. So my name is Lewis John. I'm a solutions consultant with City & Guilds Kineo. We've got a stand around the corner there, stand 28, so following the presentation, if you've got any questions we haven't covered off, pop around and see me. So today I'm going to be talking about a recent project we did for Samsung, which is an extended enterprise learning management system. And by extended enterprise, we're talking about an audience that's outside the business. So this LMS is for, well, I'll talk about it a bit more in a minute, but it's not for Samsung staff, it's for people that effectively sell Samsung products. So can you hear me okay? I can hardly hear myself, I have to say. So I've covered off the introduction, myself, Lewis John. Now I'm going to talk you through a few kind of points. So a background to the project, a little bit of talking about the organization we worked with on the project, and then take you on a tour, which is all screen grab based because I thought the internet might be a bit sketchy. So it won't fully do the system justice, but hopefully it'll come across okay. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of background about City & Guilds Kineo as well. Okie dokie. So I have an extract from the request for proposal from Samsung and Iris, who I'll talk about a little bit more in a moment. But Samsung Backstage is the name of the LMS, the Learning Management System, and it's an online training portal providing product knowledge for retailers and operators, so people that sell Samsung electronic products in the consumer space, so smartphones, tablets, cameras, and the like. And it's also, the kind of trade engagement piece is that it's also a crucial way of Samsung having a relationship with those retailers. So kind of trade engagement, actually kind of like effectively connecting with those retailers. So the audience in this case is store staff based in the UK with a potential audience of about 70,000 people. It's also for call centers globally. And the audience is a very young audience in terms of being between 20 and 34 years old. Well, that's young to me. But yeah, quite a young crowd, a very sort of techie crowd, driven by competitions. If you've been into sort of phone shops and the like, you know that these people are really, really super keen and super techie. They live and breathe technology, and they really like to get under the hood of the products. So that's the kind of the background of how we got involved. So the project was put out to tender, and we were successful in winning the bids and moving forward with it. So we proposed a Totara LMS-based solution, and I'll talk a little bit more about Totra later. But for the minute, I'll just carry on giving you a little bit more background. So there was a previous version of the learning management system, although it wasn't truly an LMS. It was effectively a kind of a website, CMS-driven website. The previous version was well received, so the users liked the idea that there was going to be this online kind of presence. But actually, it was very poorly rated when they did some surveys on it. So most of the users found it was inadequate for what they wanted. It had lots of games, and the subject of gamification is a topic in its own right we could spend at least half an hour on. But in terms of how gamification was kind of, how it came to life on the old site, it was really just a bunch of games that had no relevance to Samsung or to the products. It was just games. So what we've done, and you'll see it a little bit later, is kind of implemented gamification in a much more meaningful way. The other problem with the old site, it was very hard to maintain. The client had to go back to the agency anytime they wanted the tiniest little change done. So it was not a great relationship. And the other thing was that there was a smartphone version, but it was completely different to the desktop version, and a very kind of disjointed experience across the two interfaces, as it were. So the new site, it had to be unified across desktop, tablet, and smartphone. So it had to be fully responsive, the same site working across different devices. And over 50% of this audience are accessing the site via mobile, via smartphones and tablets. So clearly that was like a crucial kind of device for users. And the other kind of objective success criteria was having an increased and meaningful engagement with users, as well as a great brand experience. So the user experience was absolutely paramount for this site. So there was a very collaborative approach to the project. And we were working with an organization called Iris. They're a creative ad agency. and they're the lead ad agency working with Samsung. So they actually did the procurement. They were the ones that went out to the market to kind of buy the LMS. So we were working very, very closely with Iris. Iris are ad agency of the year, and they have been for the last 4 years. They're a very, very talented and creative bunch of people, and it's been an absolute pleasure working with them. So they were responsible for all the creative aspects of the project. We've got a very talented team of art directors and graphic designers at Kineo. But these guys, they live and breathe that kind of that creative advertising kind of medium. So they wanted to lead on the UX side of things, and that was fine. We were very, very happy to do that, and they did a great job. So we provided the LMS expertise, the technical skills to deliver the platform and build it based on the project requirements, and to do all the front-end design and development and such like. So the site is focused on product knowledge and trade engagement, as we sort of touched on a moment ago. And it uses a very integrated approach across social and the website and the learning platform. So it's very, very integrated, and that will hopefully come out a little bit in the next few slides. So let's take a tour. One thing I'll just mention off the bat is that where I've taken screen grabs, because I didn't want to be reliant on internet, the site has a static background with scrolling pages, and when you do screen grabs, you lose the effect of the background image because it's just locked to the top bit. So if there's time at the end, I'll load up the site itself, and we can have a quick look at it. But it's clearly much more beautiful than this because we've got a kind of a bit of a cut-off there. So some of the kind of elements on the site are carousels, a link through to my profile, promotions, promoting competitions, promoting social activities, and the like. I'll just go to the next slide where I've got a different carousel image so you can get a kind of sense of that. The other elements of the homepage are your recent learning. So anytime a learner has come to the site and accessed some learning about the products, whether it be the S5 or the S6, then it's presented to them in a list so they can immediately go in and access the learning straight off the bat. Based on the behavior on the site as well, we can suggest some learning to them. So it's slightly off the screen there, but you can see bottom left, we've got some suggested learning. So that's basically saying, well, how's the user using this site? And then let's promote content to them based on that kind of that interaction effectively. So it's kind of, the site's almost like learning as it goes in terms of what the users need and what the users want. So what I'm going to do in this sort of slide deck is really just walk you through a series of screen grabs. As I say, it doesn't really do it full justice, but if we've got time, I'll kind of I'll flip up the site at the end. Okay, so just walking through the site, we were on the home page there, and now we're in the My Backstage part of the site. If anybody's familiar with Totra, this is the My Learning area of Totra. In Totra, you can rename and relabel anything you like, and in this case, we've called it My Backstage. And it's really the learner's personalized learning space. What I failed to mention at the beginning is this site just launched a few months ago, and it's a very, very rapidly developed project. So from inception to go live was 3 months. So it was a very fast project. So it's still relatively early days on the site, and Totra's got a whole host of functionality around the personalized learning space. The ability to have learning plans, to access all your kind of learning history, to have competencies, and a whole bunch more. But right now we're using it in a relatively simple way. But nevertheless, what we can see here is the badges that I've earned on the site. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about those in a moment because they're very cool, and I'm certainly a big fan of them. If we zoom out a little bit, you'll see a few more badges that I've earned. So we've just kind of zoomed out a bit so you can see the My Badge panel, which expands and collapses, basically. So effectively, learners are rewarded with badges when they complete product knowledge. So on the site, you've got a bunch of courses, effectively, with product knowledge, so learning about the products. Then as the learners go through that product learning and take quizzes and pass the quizzes, they get awarded badges, and what are called open badges. And again, the next couple of slides, I'm going to talk a little bit more about those. But the point is that there's kind of an element of gamification in there as well, because there's a sense of achievement and kind of opportunity and reward, effectively, via these open badges. They can also be awarded for other things on the site, like if you complete your profile, you can be awarded a badge. Basically, any number of things can be the criteria for being awarded badges. That's pretty cool because, in this case, Samsung and Iris knew a certain amount about the users, but they didn't know a hell of a lot about them. So by encouraging learners to fill out their profile, we actually get a lot more information about the learners, and then we can tailor the site and tailor future B2B engagement based on kind of what we're capturing in that profile data. So there's a whole raft of benefits of kind of using badges and awarding badges to users, and it's beyond just the kind of recognition of learning. It can be recognition of engagement, basically. And initially, just to touch on, we awarded an enlisted badge when the learners first signed up, and that was to really kind of raise the idea of what badges are. So if you signed up, you got awarded a badge straight off the bat, and on your homepage, you could see your enlisted badge and feel great about it, and then kind of want to gain more, basically. Another feature here, we can see there's a whole bunch of blank spaces. Again, that's kind of encouraging to earn more in the sense that there's more to do on the site than you've done already. So just a little bit more about open badges and what they are. So open badges were kind of initiated through the Mozilla Foundation, the people that make Firefox, and the MacArthur Foundation. And really what they're all about is kind of taking recognition into the digital domain. So they are a digital recognition of skills and achievements, effectively. And badges can be awarded, awarded, that's kind of a good word for it, awarded by sites. And then the learners can gain badges on that site, but crucially, they can save them to their Mozilla backpack, and then they can publish them elsewhere. So this is some kind of words that I grabbed from the Mozilla site about open badges, and I'll just run through it very quickly. So they're free and open. It's an open standard. Anyone can use it. It's not proprietary technology. They recognize skills and knowledge. They're transferable, and that's the crucial thing. As I say, you can earn them on one site, you can save them to your backpack, and you can publish them elsewhere. That's actually quite a powerful kind of proposition. And the more you kind of think of it and engage with it, the more powerful you realize it becomes. And it reminded me when I was preparing this slide deck about Bitcoins. And going back in time, you'd have said, if somebody had said Bitcoins to you and that they're going to have a tangible value, you'd probably have laughed in their face. But now they're hugely valuable. And personally, I see open badges as having that kind of equity. So our personal, professional equity can be enhanced through the use of badges. So whether it be LinkedIn or whether it be social media sites, I can actually publish out the kind of skills and achievements that I've gained, and I can take them with me. They're not locked into the time at that single organization. And for these guys, I mean, they can earn badges, and we can see the badges that I've earned on the Samsung Backstage that I've saved to my Mozilla backpack, which is that top image. If you click on a badge, you get information about the badge. So when it was awarded, who awarded it, if there's an expiry date and such like. And crucially, there's a link there to the evidence. If you click on that evidence link, it takes you back to the Samsung site and explains how the learner earned that badge. So that's open to anybody. Anytime I publish a badge to, say, LinkedIn, when that hopefully becomes available, you can click back through to the awarding site to see how you gained that badge. So it's verifiable, and that's the crucial thing. It's, you can effectively prove that you've earned that badge. And in this case, it's all about product knowledge, so you know the products really well, the ethics really well. So if you want to know more about open badges, Totra Learning Solutions, TLS, the people that effectively make Totra, and that Kineo are founders, co-founders, and co-owners of, have just produced a guide to open badges that's going to be available on the TLS site, I think in the next maybe few days. Oh, it's up there already. And that's within the resources section. So I thoroughly recommend it. I think open badges are the future. So now I'm just going to walk you through a little bit more of the site. As we kind of flow through the site, we've looked at My Backstage. Now we're looking at Discover. This is called Find Courses in Moodle and Totra, but we've called it Discover here. This is a list of categories within the site. So a course category of smartphones and tablets and the like. And as you can see, it's very, very graphical. If you go to a standard kind of Totra site, this will be a list. But for this kind of brand experience we're looking for, that wouldn't cut it. So it had to be a very visual and graphical representation of that. So we got some lush-looking visuals to support that kind of user experience. We've also got a hero category, which is the smartphones category. Clearly a very, very important category for Samsung. And then now I'm going to imagine that I'm clicking through onto smartphones so that I can go into the actual course listing. And again, this is a very visual representation. This is one of the little tweaks we did to Totra so that when you create a course, you can create multiple images for it, a standard image, but also a hero banner. And then if that course is promoted to the kind of hero course status, then you get the bigger visual. And we can see that here, S6 being the very, very big product for Samsung at the moment. Again, you can see the visually rich UX carries all the way through. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click into one of the courses that we're seeing here. As far as the learners are concerned, they don't really care about whether it's a course or whether it's anything, really. What they care about is product knowledge. So I'll call it courses, but for the learner, they don't need to bother themselves with that kind of lexicon or that language. They see information presented to them, they click through, and they access it. So here we go. Now we're looking at the course page. Well, I say again, that's my term for it, but for the learner's point of view, it's just great information about the product. You can see it looks and it feels very webby. It looks and feels like a really best-of-breed website and not some kind of dusty old LMS that we might have associated in our minds. So the next couple of slides, I'm just going to kind of scroll you through the page just so as you get a bit of an experience of what that looks like. So here we're just scrolling down a little bit. You can see some links up the top there to take a short quiz or to access the learning. Most of the products on the site just have learning and there's a quiz embedded in the learning. Well, there is here as well. There's a quiz embedded in the learning, but there's also a separate quiz, a Totara quiz, and I'm going to show you that in a second. The reason for that is that by completing the quiz and by completing the learning on Samsung, you get access to some really great prizes. So it's a slightly higher bar was set for this product in terms of engaging users with the product information, clearly because it's such an important product. On the right here, I just put in a panel. I mentioned earlier about fully responsive design. This is what it looks like on a smartphone. So I just took a screen grab of a kind of a smartphone view. And you can see it all completely adapts. And adapt is quite an important word here because it's not just a liquid layout that kind of flips down blocks as you go narrower. It's actually using different style sheets and it's adapting. So we can see that images are dropping in or dropping out depending on the blocks. So we can say, well, this block, if it's on a desktop, display this image. But if it's on a smartphone, drop the image out because the screen space is kind of like a little bit more precious. So again, you can see it's kind of a great experience across desktop, tablet, and smartphone. So the next, the other thing I should mention, you can see the key information. You've got product information, you've got some key tech specs, and then you've got a whole bunch of resources. So it's courses and resources basically all within one place. So here we have the quiz, the Totra quiz. It's the same, actually, effectively under the hood. We've got Moodle with the Totra product, so it's like an enterprise edition of Moodle. Everything that you get from Moodle, but a whole lot more around reporting and managing users and groups and users. Now, with the Totara quizzes, we've got much more power than we could kind of achieve through a score module or without a lot of customization. So within Totra, we can say you can have 2 attempts, 3 attempts, 4 attempts, or whatever. We can say that after you've had 2 attempts, if you failed it twice, you get locked out for 24 hours or 48 hours, or it triggers some other event. But we've got basically a hell of a lot of power and control over the way that users interact with the quizzes. And in this instance, that's the way we've got it configured. You get 2 attempts. If you fail it, you get locked out for 24 hours, and you need to come back and carry on with your, and have another go, basically. Do some more learning to make sure you pass it the 3rd time. So it all forms part of the course completion criteria. Have you done the learning? Have you passed the quiz in the learning? And have you passed the Totra quiz as well? And that will then say, yes, you passed you've effectively completed the course. That means you get awarded a badge. It also means you can enter competitions. And we'll talk about that, or I'll talk about that, sorry, in a second. So here we have the learning itself. So we developed the e-learning using our Adapt, or using the Adapt, open source Adapt framework that was originally created by Kineo and then gifted to the e-learning community because it's a fully responsive e-learning framework. So we produced 28 courses in 10 weeks. And you can see again that the user experience flows right through from the LMS to the learning. And that's a particular interest of mine, is about that kind of joined up experience, because oftentimes you'll have an LMS and you'll have e-learning, and there's not actually a lot of continuity between the two. So for me, my passion really is taking that learner experience right through from accessing the platform, accessing courses, resources, and the kind of the user experience within the learning itself. as a sort of joined up brand experience effectively. So I'll just scroll down the page a little bit more and you can get a kind of feel for what the learning looks like. It looks lush, basically, and is consistent with the user experience on the site. Something else that the guys at Iris do, and it's absolutely fantastic, is they support the kind of trade engagement through regular emails. You might receive a couple of emails in a week or certainly for a month or something like that. So here's just an example of an email that's going out. It's promoting the product knowledge on Samsung Backstage. It's saying if you do the product knowledge on Backstage, then you'll be given a code. You can go to Facebook, you can enter that code, and then you'll be entered in a competition. So like right off the bat, I mentioned about joining up that kind of social media with the learning platform, and that's a great example of that. It's all interacting. You're getting pushed from the LMS to Facebook, you're getting pushed from Facebook back to the LMS. So anybody that's on Facebook that maybe isn't aware of the LMS, well then that sort of motivates them to go visit the LMS and access that learning. So it's kind of, I mean, this is something I really love about this site. It's really, really joined up. And it's quite a special experience working with a company like Iris, who are really kind of have got that vision. So it's a joy. So one of the recent competitions that was on the site was called Backstage Battles. And it was a very fun, very light-hearted competition. Basically, people were encouraged, there was a kind of a topic or a subject, and people were encouraged to take videos of themselves and upload them to Facebook and to the learning platform. And then every day there'd be a kind of a vote. So people would get to vote on which they preferred, which video they preferred. So I've got a little clip of a promo video that sits behind this. And it's kind of, you'll get a feel for it and just how fun it is. So hopefully this will work. I'll stop it there. It goes on for about another, I don't know, 45 seconds or something. But it's just a great example of working with an organization with that kind of vision. Now, clearly not everybody has the pockets of Samsung, it's fair to say. But some of the elements of this we can definitely sort of take out from this project. And just thinking about how do we engage with the trade, how do we excite people, how do we motivate people, how do we drive people from the kind of social media to the site and such like. And that was a great example. So back on the LMS, here we have a competition. Again, technically under the hood, this is a course. This is a Totara course page. It doesn't look like a course page. It doesn't feel like a course page. It feels like a competition space. And that's what it is, but that's kind of how we built it. Everyone can see the competition pages, but you can only enter the competition if you've done the learning. And it says that on the page. It says, okay, if you want to win an S5 Mini, go do the learning, then come back. As soon as you've done that learning, that will unlock the course for you automatically in real time. That was another little tweak we did to Totra as well for Samsung, because ordinarily there's maybe a 20-minute delay between completing a course and that course completion pinging through to the back end effectively. We made it real time, so as soon as you do something on Totra, bam, you can enter the competition straight away. But again, it's just that whole experience, and I keep talking about experience, but it really is a unified experience across the different social media and such like. So flipping on, here we have the community space, and I should have said that last. The competition sits in the exclusive space, so we're kind of just flowing through the primary navigation there, and now we're in the community space. So one of the big sort of initiatives that Samsung are doing right now is they've created this thing called the Galaxy Cup. It's a worldwide competition for people that work in retailers selling Samsung products. And what they can do is they can put football teams together. They can create that team on Backstage. So they have to go to the LMS to create that team. They choose their buddies that they want to kind of do the five-a-side with or whatever. They get to play at some sort of very famous Premier League stadiums. and they get Samsung buy them the full kit as well. I mean, they are so generous. And then the world, then basically the winners of the regions then go into a national competition, and the winners of the national competition then go into the worldwide competition, and the final is in Korea, in South Korea. So it's a fantastic initiative they're doing. But again, it's driving that trade engagement, driving that kind of motivation to go visit the learning platform, to engage with Samsung, and to feel good about Samsung as well. We just got a little bit more, another page. Again, a little tweak we did was allowing people to sign up to the football competition and then publish out the results, goal of the week, and all the kind of activities and such like. Okie dokie, so that was my tour of Samsung Backstage, which I hope you liked. I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes talking about City & Guilds Kineo. So it's probably the bit that's not quite so interesting, but I should probably cover. So City & Guilds Kineo, we are part of City & Guilds. So we're part of a global organization. We were a private company until about 3 years ago. We did a pilot program for City & Guilds called City & Guilds Way. It was taking apprenticeships online. So there was the existing kind of classroom and work-based learning, but we developed an online learning platform for City & Guilds. It's fantastically successful, and they loved it so much they bought the company, like the old Remington ad. It's great for us. We're all passionate about learning, so it's a really, really, really good fit. Other parts of City & Guilds are the Institute of Leadership and Management, the Oxford Group, quite a recent acquisition, and of course Totra LMS, which is the kind of main thing I'm talking about today. Kineo were co-founders of Totra, and we're part owners of it. We kind of got together with a couple of organizations to get the investment required in order to take Moodle to the kind of enterprise, make it work for business. So I've got a slide in a second talking a little bit more about Totra, but I'm conscious I'm running out of time, so I better flip forward. We, City & Guilds Kineo, are award winners. We do very well. We are proud of the work we do for clients, and we put them forward for awards, and we win those, and we've done very well. We've been very successful in winning awards on behalf of our clients. It's about making heroes of our clients. That's kind of one of the mantras. Sounds a bit cheesy, but it kind of works. That's kind of the philosophy, really. Make heroes of your clients. So what we do, we're one of the biggest agencies in the UK. We're about 200 strong. We're based down in Brighton. We've also got a Sheffield office, and we've also got a London presence as well. We do e-learning content. We do learning platforms, hosting, and support. We're a fully integrated agency, so we do everything to do with learning, basically, and we do it very well. So Totra Enterprise LMS is the LMS under the hood of the Samsung Backstage project. It's open source. It's multi-instance. So there's always that decision to make when you're buying an LMS. Do you go the SaaS route, or do you go the multi-instance route? With Totra, with it being open source and multi-instance, we can customize it based on client requirements. So we're not stuck with whatever the core product is. We can actually tweak it and make it work for our clients. And that's a really, really crucial difference between the likes of the other big LMS players, I won't name them, and Totra, is that we can make it work for your organization. We always stay as close to core as possible. We want it to be as maintainable as possible over time. And any customizations we we tend to do via plugins to make it maintainable over time. But what Totra is, it's an open source LMS. It's a commercial distribution of the world-leading Moodle LMS, which is a fantastic virtual learning environment. It crucially adds some fundamental additional functionality around reporting and about managing users and about making it integratable with CRM, HR systems, and such like. There are a whole bunch of other resellers. We're clearly the best, but there are other resellers out there, so you're not locked into a single vendor, which again is a risk when you kind of buy any kind of technology product. You're going to be locked into that vendor. It's great when times are good, but if times aren't so good, you kind of think, oh my God, we're over a barrel. You're not so with Totra, and it would never be like that with Kineo anyway, because you'd have a great experience with us. So, oh yeah, in fact, this is just replaying some of the stuff I just mentioned. You can integrate with HR and other systems, CRM systems and the like, and a whole bunch of added functionality, far more than I can possibly cover in the last few seconds of my slide deck. So if you want to come around to stand 28 afterwards and talk to us, we can talk to you about Totra LMS, or visit our website, kineo.com, or give us a bell. Okay, so just in the last few seconds of the deck. So, achieving trade engagement, which is what the session was all about, is that kind of joined up attitude across different channels, across email, across social media, and such like, and all leading back to the LMS, and the LMS leading back to those social channels. So it's joined up. Gamification, not games. And as I said earlier, we could do a session on that alone. But some of the things that we've either done or are coming soon are leaderboards. So depending on how you've done, you'll see that on a leaderboard and you can compare yourself to other people. Again, that drives that kind of competitive nature between learners, between users. I mean, one of the ideas I had was it could actually name check the organization you belong to, whether it's like Carphone Warehouse or Debenhams and such like, which again would drive even more competitiveness because you want your organization to be top of the stack at the #1. But right now we've already got fantastic competition, fantastic rewards, things like awarding achievement through badges. It's got that kind of gamey sort of aspect to it as well. Leveling up is something else we're looking at so that as you kind of gain or as you prove the kind of skills and knowledge you have on the platform, then you're actually awarded with greater rights on the site. So you can moderate forums, you can lead discussions, you can maybe take videos of yourself selling a product and upload that and share it with others. So that kind of social engagement is again. So the last kind of little bullet points there, not little, really important. A great user experience, stunning visual design, looks and feels like a quality website, not a dull and dusty LMS, fully responsive, so it works great across desktop, tablet, and smartphone. And it's been, I have to say, it was an absolute joy to work on, and we're very proud of the work we did. So I hope that's useful, and thank you very much.